the next question I had was, where do you start when writing a story? But I think we've probably actually kind of covered that.
Yeah.
So the next question would be about voice, which I might. Do you want to start off on that one? Or do you want to pass it on to?
Oh, your author voice.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So how do you find? You probably find, because you do, like as you mentioned, a lot of first-person POV. So you'd have a lot of different. You'd have different voices in different books. How do you manage to make sure that they're all different characters across your different books?
Also, how are they different, or how do we know that I'm the same person writing it? As in,
or how do you
feel
manage
against the books?
Yeah, how do you manage keeping like yourself separate from your characters in those first-person POV?
I think it's just about creating complete characters, as you said, putting them in different scenarios. It's not how would I react to that situation, it's how would they react to that situation. Because then you get to know them so well that when you put them in something different, it's like, well, they would do this, and I know they would do that. But in terms of my author voice, what links those books together, I have a very odd sense of humour. That I think is actually my linking voice, because like some of the jokes and just the way I carry that across in the stories. I laugh at my own jokes. I amuse myself. I figure eventually I'm going to find people that I amuse too. So that, I think, is my linking author voice.
I think probably our odd sense of humour is what actually has brought us all together on this panel, to be perfectly honest with you. Yeah. We're all a little odd.
Well, look, because you can't... I'm not a firm believer in writing to market or writing to what you think people are going to want to read. You write what you want to write, the genre, the style, whatever. Your readers will find you. And then they'll become super stalkers, and then you'll worry about them. And that's when you know you've made it. I'm looking at you.
Rob, do you have anything to add on your voice?
So, main thing when you look at character voice versus your own voice is to remember that with characters you just need why they do things, and you'll find that the language, the way that they talk, will flow from that logic of why they're doing things, why they feel a particular way. So it's easy to do that. Your own voice as an author will tend to flow just like your technical writing skills. If they're a bit rough around the edges, that's going to show, and you might need some practice there. But all of the culture you consume will give you your unique voice, and it's that practice, it's that dealing with editor feedback that allows you to take on what you want, ignore what you don't want, and that punches up and changes and makes it your unique voice. There's not a lot of point stressing over it so much as is if you're always doing things deliberately and always trying to improve, your voice will develop. So that's what I'm going to...
Character motivation, hugely important.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Karen, do you have anything to add on voice?
Yeah, well, I wasn't sure whether you were talking about our personal voice or character voice. So
combination.
So with my personal voice, I have a bit of a weird sense of humour too. And I wanted to write a certain thing. There wasn't a lot, and then I found out that Gail Carriger, if anyone knows her, she has this comedy of etiquette type thing, and I thought, I'm allowed to do that now, so I can do that with my own personal voice. With character voices, I pick a hobby or one thing that they're really passionate about. Like, for example, Auntie Enid loves cooking, so often all her references and similes and things she relates things to are to cooking. So if you've got a character who's an artist, they would think the colours are certain colours, the paints or whatever. So, and where they come from and what they sound like in your head at least. And then the big question I go is every time something happens I don't expect to happen, I go, well, what was the thinking behind that and what would they do?
And there is, like you mentioned, your own author voice and the character voice, and like so I'm an editor as well, so I've seen a lot of stuff that's like the difference between how you write from the point, like when you're in third person, how you write compared to when you're in first person, and how that can affect how the thinking is and that sort of stuff too, which is quite,
I find doing first person very difficult. I actually can easily write first person as short stories, but longer stories I have to write third. And multiple. Yeah.
And the only thing I would add is, like, if we're talking about finding your writing voice, is that bit of sharing your work with other people, because that's the step you eventually have to overcome, and that is like your confidence about your writing voice is sharing it a bit, just exposing yourself to feedback, learning from it, and then putting that back into your work. And that feedback loop then becomes your writing voice, and your writing confidence comes from repeating that pattern. And so I think that's the only way to truly find it is, write some, share it, learn, write some, share it, learn. And that's how you find your writing voice.
Practice.
Everyone's is different.
And, don't try and emulate someone else's work. Like, because it's not, you're never going to, you're going to be fighting a battle, an uphill battle, because you're trying to do something that's not you. And in the end, it's the stories that you tell and that you've got are the ones that are actually interesting. So you can be inspired by it, but don't actually try and copy or adapt a style of someone else. You'll just get it.
Give yourself a corner.
Yeah, and I'm like, look, nobody likes that.
Confidence.
So